Mike here from The Art of Guitar. The other day I was watching Squid Game Season 2, and I kept noticing the background music. It's a real incredible soundtrack. There's actually a lot of guitar playing in it. And I noticed that it kept making me feel a certain way. And it was something that was familiar to me, from things I've heard in the past. And the weird part is, how some chord progressions are really obvious, how they make you feel. Some are just really depressing. Some are happy and exciting. This one in particular was weird because it gave me two feelings at the same time. One of them was like a creepiness feeling, and the other was inspirational. So I thought that was odd to have an inspiring yet creepy cadence happening in the music. Now, as a songwriter myself and somebody who's dabbled in the soundtrack world a little bit, I'm really obsessed with how certain notes and certain progressions can really affect a person's emotions. If you took a chord and just played like this, for example, it's got a nice 60s love song, kind of maybe yacht rock feel to it, but this chord gives you a whole completely different feel. It's kind of a tension. Now, when you start to put chords in certain combinations, that can affect the overall vibe, obviously, as well. So it's not just the chords themselves, but the order that you play them in. And that's where the cadence concept comes in. That was hard to say. So you can think of a cadence as the end of a phrase of music that creates a sense of resolution of some kind. And then I started to remember where I was hearing these cadences before. One of them was from 9 Inch Nails. It's got this 9 Inch Nails vibe to it. So what I'll do is I'll play a typical progression, and then I'll show you how I do a little bit of a change to kind of trick your ear into this different cadence. So you're probably used to hearing something like this. It's a very common minor progression. So if you ever listen to Iron Maiden, they do this in a ton of songs, where it's the one chord minor, then you have the 6, the 7, both major, and then back to the 1 minor. Your ear's probably really used to hearing something like that. Now, to show you that creepy inspirational sound, I'm going to play a track that I recorded earlier today that utilizes those chords, but just listen to it to get the full effect. Are you kind of hearing that 9 Inch Nails Radiohead Squid Game kind of vibe with that? So if we take it, we have the minor. So that sets the stage right there. E minor. I go to A major. It was a creative choice. I thought it sounded really cool. After that, then I go to the C major, to the D major, to the E major, before starting over to the E minor, which gives it that Radiohead Beatles kind of quality. Speaking of the Beatles now, some people actually call this cadence the Billy Shears cadence. It's 3 major chords in a row, separated by a whole step each. So you get that real, if you listen to Sgt. Pepper, you could hear that part in the Billy Shears part. Before they go into With a Little Help from My Friends. Other people have called it the Mario cadence because if you beat the board and you get the fireworks and the castle and all that stuff, it plays 3 successive major chords in a row just like that. So the way I'm seeing it is within the E minor progression. So E minor is, like I showed you earlier on, the typical chords of that would be the C to the D. But then I'm just changing it. I'm substituting the E minor with the E major. Now, if you're playing this with the idea of being in the major key, well, then we're going to have to call the C and the D the flat 6, the flat 7 to the major 1. I just wanted to tell you that in case you see it written out as flat 6, flat 7, 1 progression, which I've seen it before. That's using more of a modal interchange idea when you're doing it that way. We'll get more into that. I'm going to do a modal interchange lesson on my website pretty soon. But don't let the words confuse you. Just realize that there are going to be a couple different ways that people define this. I also began to realize that I used to play this without even realizing it because I just thought it sounded really cool. And here's how I used to do it. In band practice, sometimes we would just jam out together. And it's really common to just start kicking into a minor power chord progression. I'll shut off the delay for a second. So let's say my rhythm guitar player is going. Well, if I was doing octaves, which I love to do as a second guitar part for a lot of things, for power chords especially, what I would do is I would start up and I would play the minor third of the E power chord. And then when my guitarist went to C, I would go to the major third above that, which is going to be E. When he went up to the D power chord, I went up to F sharp, so the major third of that. But then when he returned to E, I would go to the major third. And using the magic of post-production, I will do both guitar parts at the same time. But check it out, I'll do the octaves for you guys for the video part of it. Hopefully that sounded cool when the two parts were put together. So you can see that whether it's just one guitar doing a progression with chords or it's two guitars, making up a part together, it could add a more interesting element to something that might be a little too, common otherwise. So keep in mind that the concept is really simple, but it can be very effective. I love things like that because just a little bit can take you so far. So take that minor chord, that home chord, and morph it into a major and just see what happens. That was fun. Okay, everyone, we'll see you at the next video. Have fun with that. Bye-bye.